Hello, April in California. Nice to have you here. We used to do these sessions. Some of you may remember this was called the DC swap. It was in the DC area. People would bring their lunch. Then COVID happened, and now we've taken this online, and now we're rebranded as the Association Xchange. And it's nice because we get folks from all over now, and see folks here from Toronto, from California, from Florida. It's nice because we can capture a bigger audience, and we can all learn together. And so wonderful to have you all joining us today. And you're in for a real treat with Christine. It's my pleasure to introduce her, Christine Saunders. Christine is a master, everybody. Master of strategy and planning. I'm going to put you up on a pedestal here.
I was going to say, like, mic drop, and I better go. You're about to find I'm not a master of my computer technology in a second, but keep going, Adam. Thank you.
Okay, please. Strategy and planning, design and digital, analytics and results, and scuba diving and farming, I've learned, for real. You have to ask Christine about that later. She currently leads Halmyre, which is her latest enterprise in a long line of serial entrepreneur endeavors. Halmyre is a team of marketing consultants who deliver marketing solutions. One of their unofficial mottos, perhaps just my own, but it is to do effectively. Let that sit for a minute. To do effectively. And that's something that's easy to talk about, but for many of us, very difficult to execute. And today we're going to see evidence of just that, doing effectively, with Christine's membership growth case study. You can follow Christine on Twitter at @C_Saunders. And Christine, thank you so much for taking the time to share your knowledge with our community today. Please take it away.
Yeah, super. Thanks for the kind words, Adam. Really nice to be here, and glad it worked out, and I was able to step in and pinch hit. I'm really excited just to meet everyone and know about this forum. Do effectively. It is, I think that comes a little bit from the character of our firm, which perhaps to me as a founder, Scottish roots, we hate to waste money, brutally hate to waste money, and we like to achieve goals. And marketing is this perfect intersection between strategy and execution, and one of the fastest way to waste money and one of the fastest way to grow your business. So that's the space that we're in, and we're specialized in associations. We've been doing this for over 8 years. We serve clients across North America. But today I'm going to slow down at talking because that means I'm starting to multitask. So just hang on a second. I'm going to move towards sharing my screen in just 1 second. And
Christine, while you're sharing your screen, I just put here in the chat, feel free to make use of the chat to all of the Christine will address items as they arise. Please throw them there in the chat. We'll be monitoring it.
Okay. My computer's just taking a second to process my request to go to display mode, and I should be getting there shortly.
2 minutes.
Adam, can you give me a thumbs up on that? Because that's showing up right?
Looks
nice.
Good.
Thanks. And Adam and I were talking at the beginning. Let's make this informal. So along the way, Adam's agreed to keep an eye on the chat while I focus on the content and the story that I'd love to share with you, because it's a really powerful story in a number of ways. And so ask questions. And as you can tell by some of the branding, this isn't actually my story. This is Adam first saw a case study that I presented with one of our clients here in Canada, the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers, so a professional association, and the journey they went through. And we've been privileged at Halmyre to be one of their strategic partners along the way over about four or more years in varying capacities. So we did a joint case study. My colleague Bajal Shukla from OSFI, I invited him. He couldn't make it. He's on holidays today. So I'm really telling some of his story. At the end, I talk more specifically about some stuff I know. But I know a lot about their story. So please, he's cool with me doing this. And if you want to ask him, talk to him directly. Love to put you in touch, and he'd love to talk to you. So the story is about value proposition, strategy, and growth. Over the course of 3 years, it wasn't quick, and that's something else that certainly I espouse. Is there are no quick. Sometimes there are quick advances, but growth for associations mostly, is momentum and sequence and discipline over time. That's me, president and founder of Halmyre. You got my introduction already, and at the end I'll also put my LinkedIn connection there for you. So who's the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers? They are a professional association. They have about 9,000 members. They have a huge market growth opportunity though. They serve all engineering grads, not just professional engineers, but BEngs as well. And they work to bring the whole community together and advocate for them and support them as in very traditional ways that associations do. This is as I go through this presentation, I've truncated it for the purposes of this format. So again, I may extemporize and touch on a couple of things, and if you want me to speak more about it, just drop it in the chat, and Adam will bring it forward. So today's case studies. This is what I hope I'm doing Basil justice, my client justice at OSPI, and I've heard him say this a number of times. In 2018, when we first connected and they first started their journey on this, OSPI had a core strategy in place: vision, mission, values, strategic plan, all of that stuff. But they were stuck. They weren't getting growth, period. And in fact, they were losing. I'll show this a little later on. They were losing ground. And it wasn't until, and you know, I'm going to again try to do justice to him. So bear with me. I'm not trying to do a sales pitch, but he's or push a point. But I genuinely think he would say this. The value proposition strategy drove the growth. And it was when they layered that on and took a look through the lens of value prop that the strengthening and resilience and that momentum began to pick up. And I think that's one of the key messages behind the case study that he would want to share with his peers. Strategy is one thing, a laser focus on value proposition is another. So through some of the value proposition work, we're going to talk about this, but just to keep in mind, a lot of research went into this particular slide to get it really precise. Engineers are proud, okay? And so many of you, I didn't get a chance to ask, you may with trade or professional associations or a blend or a regulator. And so I hope you get to say that about many of your industries and professions that you represent. So that's not by itself an uncommon thing. In my chair and through the work we do, so I want to say it is important to understand exactly how to make that much more precise than proud of what? What makes them proud? Is it the job? Is it external factors like being recognized? So let's look at some of the key things that make engineers tick and that we were able to extract and utilize in a sequence of work over 3 years. And when I say we, I really mean OSPI. We supported in some ways. They really led the charge holistically on this. But the key personality traits, belief in importance of learning. Okay, so that might be slightly different than who, no one really disagrees with learning, but it's really important. Ambition. Okay, so they're really ambitious and very frustrated actually in that ambition, certainly here in Ontario. Wanting to be part of something bigger. So they work very isolated and on unique problems, so they like the sense of being connected to bigger societal issues. And it's really important to them. Aptitude for problem solving, just how they're wired as engineers, and aren't we glad for it? And a desire for kinship. Desire for kinship is probably one of the things that may be common to a lot of the professional associations anyway on this call today. But some of those other things above there, don't just grab them for your own. Those are really very nuanced for this particular group of engineers. So the whole drive over 3 years was how to promote the pride and share these accomplishments. How do we, these manifestations of their pride? It's very tailored. So in 2018, where did OSPI start? They started with a value proposition audit to take stock. So they were stuck. Growth was stagnant, and they couldn't quite figure out why. They've been trying things. They had very campaigns out in market, and it wasn't really connecting and getting the results that certainly for the effort and the money and the intention they felt it should have. The management team at OSPI knew something needed to change. And at that stage, after a few years of having been in place, the management team at that time was a fairly mature one. So it wasn't like it was the first year management team. And so they were in a position to influence the board. The strong CEO was able to, good relationship with the board. So they were able to influence the board, which is, I'm going to say, as a consultant, one of the most vital keys to success. Okay. One of our first questions when we talk about working with new clients is to an executive director or CEO, how's your relationship with your board? It's never perfect, never. It's always a work in progress, but is it functional and or is it completely consuming and derailing you all the time? It's very difficult to grow and do the types of things in this case study if it's not. After the value proposition audit, it recommended a full-scale restructuring of the value proposition. And the audit found a few things, that OSFI had been focused on some very short-term one-off campaigns. You could get me on a soapbox very quickly. This is in our business. I don't like the word campaign for associations. Of course you run them, but I don't like campaign thinking. Nothing happens in 6 or 8 weeks. Nothing that will last in any case. And it is a fast and furious way to blow a lot of dollars. So that's the do it effectively. Okay. So, but that's what they concurred. We reviewed they had 4 or 5 past campaigns that they had tried. And so it didn't get the value from it to get and so there was something about it. There's something about those campaigns that was missing. It didn't connect. Clearly, that's the answer. It's not like they weren't well executed. It didn't resonate. The second thing the audit revealed was that OSFI was conflicted about its audience. So many of you might be in this, and it is one of the most important things for any organization is to get clear and I'll just go on a lateral here, embrace the fact that you can't be all things to all people. Some of you serve very diverse audiences, and you're not going to make them all happy equally all of the time. Okay, so part of the process, certainly Halmyre goes through with clients, is to help them figure out who they should focus on and why, and to let go of that idea that every single member is equal in terms of the attention and the type of products and services you bring out. And so in OSFI's case, they had a history coming. They were a breakaway from the regulator for the licensure of the professional engineering status, and we're trying to make a shift to serve the whole engineering community, which is much larger and much more dynamic. So all of the BEngs, the Bachelor of Engineers as well. It was overly involved in very niche and specialized areas of advocacy, really niche stuff. And they considered a win like getting their organization, an advocacy win was getting their organization published in a government report on sustainability or whatever, name the topic. And, the members didn't care. OSFI had his audience research that was not being listened to or responded to. It's very common, and here's your quick tip for the day. I almost guarantee all of you that you have research in the drawer that if you were to hire a nice consultant like ourselves, we'd say, can we see your research? And then I'd point out things that you've been hearing for years and could probably action. So go back to your desks after this and open up that drawer of dusty research reports. And here's your other quick tip. If you have them, read the write-ins. Take your time and read the pattern of what people have been writing in year over year. Okay, you'll see some trends and patterns. And OSFI fell into that trap. They kept getting research and then they wouldn't mobilize on it. You know why? Because some of the things that people want you to do is hard and requires a lot of change. So OSFI is in that position.
Hey, Christine, we had a question from the crew here. Jacqueline wondering, is there something that you could share with the group, like a sample audit? Like, is there a checklist you could point someone to? Where's a good place to start with something like that?
I probably have a resource or two, like an outline of what's involved, and certainly our audits, but just to give you a sense of the type of things that get done. And I can maybe think of 1 or 2 other things if I could follow up, and maybe Adam, you could grab that person's name and share it with me offline, and I'm happy to follow up and try to support you.
That sounds great. Yeah, and Jacqueline, encourage Jacqueline, but also anyone to connect with Christine on LinkedIn after this, and that's a good way to. Yeah, we can also do the exchange through us. So I know and the chat is also interested in that too. So yeah,
for sure. I'll do my best so you can start wrapping your head about what could an audit look like, what type of questions do you need to ask. Okay, for sure. Happy to do that. And in fact, I actually do have a resource at the end of this, which may help you a little bit. I forgot, it's right at the end of this presentation. I have others I can do as well. So I don't know if I honestly realized, so we did an audit, certainly Halmyre, and it's always a collaboration. We never know your industry, but we led the process and structured the project and did some of the analysis. But they really embarked on a 3-year plan, and we helped set them on that course. And one of the things that made OSFI, I think, successful is they took that long-term view. They took the view that this was going to take time. And part of the board influence that made them successful is that they were able to tell the board, this is an investment, it's going to take time. Okay. And that concept is really important because, you know, boards are edgy and we're all in short-term cycles and need to get results right away, bang, bang, bang. Some of the things that resulted from the audit and on the course to develop their their value proposition strategy and to become more engaging to members and really get to the point where they could put something out to market that absolutely resonated. Okay. So if the problem before was exemplified by campaigns and market that didn't connect and drive results, there was a 3-year process that they took to get ready to put a campaign into market that would connect. Okay. And so for those of you who are going, wow, 3 years to build a campaign, that's not what we did. We got ready we strengthened their value proposition so that when we went out, not only did we have more insights on who the audience was and how to connect with them and get their attention, but then when they went to look at OSFI, they were paying it off. They were able to pay it off. Their technology was improved, their brand was improved, they had new products and services, new ways to support them. That was identified through the work. So there was a huge list of, they got busy. You know, I should say there's about 14 OSFI. If I said there's 8,000-9-ish thousand members, maybe it's creeping to 10. There are about 14 or 15 staff, just to give you a sense of the size. So they certainly had a capacity to do this. My comment for those of you who are maybe on the smaller side is there's always a way and it always fits who you are. Okay, so the way forward will fit the natural scale of where you are. So if you're smaller budget or even larger budget, it fits who you are and the path that you are in. For OSFI, I would classify them sort of as a mid-sized, but I would say very ambitious. They had ambition to change and be better because they were frustrated by the lack of results. So a number of strategic projects were undertaken internally at OSFI, conjointly with some of our help, and sometimes it was completely outsourced. And so that dynamic was very important to them. Developed ideal member personas and started using them in how to target and develop new products and services strategically. Personas are representations. It's a management toolkit. It's one of the most valuable things you can do. There's another one, which is getting some data going. But personas settle the question of what do they want. Okay, it codifies your member's voice. And it codifies the 3 to 5 most idealized members that you can possibly serve and make happy. So if you heard me, I was very careful. It's not everybody. It's just that idealized. That's what a persona is. Again, I've got lots of other resources on that. Happy to share with you. Eng Talks, Eng Path, these are all various types of different career new services. Very dynamic online, very responsive to different career stages. And we heard all of that in the research and the personas. They had a new website. They launched a new flagship engineering conference. They aligned their social media to personas. So they started putting out messages that spoke to exactly the voice of the personas and key messages. One of the bigger things that was out there was a progressive upskilling within the organization of their abilities to, and these are marketing words, retain, acquire, and members. So before going out with a flagship costly campaign or what could potentially be costly campaign, they wanted the fundamental skills of managing a bread and butter acquisition campaign through, pay per click or other paid advertising or email, or they wanted that, and they wanted all of the benchmarks. They're very data driven. Aren't we glad the engineers are data-driven firm? So they were building momentum. They were doing lots of test and learn. They were upskilling their internal skills. learning what to expect, how much things cost, so that by the time they got to do a flagship campaign, which I'm going to show you in a moment, or one sample from, they were ready. They had the data, staff was in place, and had sort of been warming up to this big event, and the website was in better shape, the brand was in better shape, they had better products, features, and benefits. They had, in our consulting, I call it the steak versus the sizzle. Before they went out with the sizzle, which is that big campaign, they made sure the steak, what they were offering as a meal, was really the best it could possibly be for who they are. So lots of new coming in the future, lots of new email technology systems, analytics deep dives. They started really listening to the numbers, learning to look at the numbers, and this has led to sort of a whole other wave that's coming in the future, because it is going on. But I want to come back to, we talked about that pride. There is a driving insight, and it's a bit of a repeat, but I'm going to set you up for the next slide, because I'm going to take you to the pinnacle. And so many of you know all of the work that they did that I've just touched on over that 3-year roadmap of investments and change and getting better and trying and getting better. And I think they just tackled it the right way. Along the way, they started building momentum. But there is a driving insight. They were able to crisply put their finger on how are engineers different than, say, lawyers or doctors, or librarians or pharmacists, right? They're inherently proud. It is so strong with this crowd of the work they do, and their contributions to shaping, planning, and building a safe and inclusive future for Ontario's society at large. Ontario is the largest province in Canada. There's about 13 million people in this province. One of the most diverse and inclusive provinces as well. A lot of the source of immigration and vibrant communities are here. But they are so proud, and I talked about some of the things that drive that proud. So what I'd like to do now is share with you a 2-minute video, and then I'll bring the presentation in kind of for landing for other Q&A, to give you that sample of that pinnacle. So they didn't do this right away. They didn't say, oh, I need another campaign, I got to get that growth. Boy, the board's on my heels. And they were to get the growth, but they bought time to get better. And so they were ready to ask for the trust of the broader engineering community. And this is where we landed in 2022, just through the middle of last year and all into the fall. Can everyone hear that? Yes? Hope so.
My name is Manraj Pinu. I work at Spin Master. I'm the director of process engineering. You know, we make toys. And I think through Extension, we make people smile every day. And for me personally, to be able to share that much positivity with the world has a ripple effect that just translates across borders, across language. And that's what excites me. I think for my role specifically, when you can look at bringing a toy from an idea, drawing on a napkin, to all the way to manufacturing it and getting it on the shelves of retailers, and seeing how that happens, and seeing a child holding that and smiling, it's the best feeling in the world. When we look at engineering, and when we look at our Spin Master toys, whether it's Paw Patrol, Bakugan, Rubik's Cube, my team, specifically the process engineering team, really creates the processes and the infrastructure to allow that product development life cycle to happen, from concept, idea, all the way to on a shelf. And I think when we look at the engineering practices that are employed there, we are enabling our designers, our manufacturing engineers, our mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, software engineers, product development engineers to actually do their work. And I think that's why my role is so much more exciting than anybody else's, because we get to see all of it happen. Being able to really inspire a new generation of engineers and bringing people up to new heights, I think that's really what I love. And I think that's something OSPI's really helped me find. I think through the mentorship opportunities that I've had with OSPI, through the mentors I've gained with OSPI as well, I think that's what really wakes me up in the morning. That's something I love.
So I love Manraj. What a guy! Aren't you glad he's the engineer behind at a toy, the world's largest toy manufacturer? When you listen to that video, and I'm just going to move on, it just give you some snapshots of some. There was an extensive campaign. I'm not here to talk about the performance or the design of the campaign per se, but what I wanted to come back to and underscore is what our goal was after the work and the process was when we were ready to go out and ask for their trust to join this association. We knew how to do it. We knew, and there's a fundamental trick in marketing. It's called, if you want them to look at you, hold up a mirror. And that's what this campaign does. Now, lots of associations run similar campaigns. The reason why this one works, it's different, is because of the precision of that pride and that energy. And I love playing the video with Manraj because he's just like the over the top. How much does he love the role engineering plays in putting a smile on people's faces? Amazing. And the joy of his job and that collaboration as engineers and being part of something bigger. And then a very small note, bringing it back to how he's benefited from the association. But really, people are watching. If I took for time, I took the slides out on all the performance. You all seen them. It got mind-blowing number of hits across that 250,000 population that we're trying to hit. Now, we weren't trying to hit all of them, but because they want to see engineers loving it, they want to see themselves. They want to see the energy, how they love their jobs, no matter what they're doing. And you can see on the screen, we talked to guy in the bottom middle, and you all have these stories there. But one of the guys in the bottom middle there, he says in his video he wanted to be work with water from the time he was 7, something like that. Like, what? No, he's a water engineer. Did you know they exist? They exist anyway. But he's so quietly passionate about what he does, and so bringing that forward, not talking about him, but getting him to talk about how amazing his job is and how important it is. They wanted to, and people and their peers wanted to hear that. That is the skill of marketing, is getting that precision and holding up a mirror so they look at it and go, yeah, that's what I look like. I look like Manraj at Spin Master, even though I do a whole different type of engineering. So, a substantive campaign, but not only was OSPI prepared and ready for it from a skills, a data and measurement, and those insights that made it not just another featured member campaign, their featured member campaign. And so I do want to skip to the bottom line because they were stuck. Remember the growth at membership association. So what? I don't really care how many people watch the video. Of course I do, but I care about whether or not they turned the ship around. And what you can see here that OSPI has graciously shared with their colleagues, these are their internal reports. They initiated where that arrow is. That's when the work began. And so this is what momentum build looks like. Okay. So it started to get better and started to get better. They did receive a COVID bump, and Bajal would talk about that if he's here. So they were vital to keep a number of industries going, construction in particular. When COVID first landed, the issue they were dealing with was COVID protocols on construction sites, amongst many others, because engineers are vital in so many essential services. But the growth is there, and the growth is coming, and the trend is reversing, and that's what Bajal, I think, would want to tell you if he was here. Very specifically, they've had a 22% year-over-year increase, exceeding the goal of 10%. They've increased the renewal rate, more importantly, to 96%. 14% of conversions they now have coming from social media. They didn't know that number when we started, and when we started tracking that number, it was not functional. If you remember, I called out, they started aligning their social media to the messages as a persona wanted to hear. They became very purposeful. That is momentum. because that just gets stronger and stronger and stronger over time. Those are investments that continue to pay off over time, which is kind of why I don't really like firm campaign planning. I like things that work and then can work stronger and then can work stronger and then can work stronger. That is really great for associations. Adam, is there a question?
There is a question. You just saw my picture pop up, right?
I did. When you show up, there's good things going to happen. What's up?
Jessica was wondering, the numbers you were just showing, Christine, do we know why those members joined? Do we know it was because of, was it tied to that value proposition, or was it maybe the list of benefits that the members get by joining?
That it's, I'm going to say it's a little bit of everything. So it all adds up. I think surveyed in particular, what has shifted member survey, the longitudinal member surveys that we have insights into, because we help design them and analyze them, is that there's always a funny thing that happens in associations. They go, well, what are the best things about our association? Then they list, like, is it advocacy? Is it networking? Is it the conference? Is it this? And then you put a laundry list. And you have to be very, very careful about that question, because it can be misleading for a number of ways, and that's probably a different talk. But that version of the question they run has shifted. So when we started in 2018 and 2019, and looking backwards for OSFI, it used to become it was advocacy and engineering and training. So they had coursework to get your professional engineer. So there's quite a bit of additional coursework and preparation you need to do in order to get your license. And so they were known primarily for those two things. What has happened is that is starting to shift over time, and fairly large numbers where advocacy is decreasing. And that makes me very, very happy. Everyone, if you're a professional association, your advocacy body, give me a call, because more important things are happening, like the networking and the rich content they're doing and the training they're doing across that Eng path training I mentioned really briefly earlier, which is really happening across the career life cycle. So not just for that, I've graduated and I need to get my PEng phase. They're doing more and more continuing education for across the life cycle. We see signs that those things are starting to float up. So I think that shift is happening. But as with all things, I think it's a little bit of everything. Yeah. It's like having a makeover. It's like, oh, this place is actually pretty good. It's the same place. It's just got new paint and wallpaper, and they did more than that. But I think a lot of those things combined. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Jessica, and please keep them coming. We had another one sent directly to me here, and this is a tough one, Christine. I've heard this one before too. Is there a rule of thumb for how much an organization should budget or commit in their budget to marketing and marketing strategy?
So I'm going to tell you the standard answer across marketing. Okay. And it's going to make most of you want to hang up on me. It's the standard answer, and I follow this in my own small business, is anywhere between 10 and 20%. There are a couple of catches there. It depends on what you call marketing and what you categorize in there and how many layered expenses you have. And the other variable that depends on that rule of thumb, and I'm happy to send you the annual year over year. There are multiple standard reports that report to the chief marketing officers of the world about this. It depends on whether or not you're going to tie 9 to 20% of what. It's a top line growth or of the total budget, different things. Okay. So why that number and why the span? Are you trying to aggressively grow and do a substantial change versus lower growth and just maintain? Okay. So that's the rule of thumb, and most of you will go, what? Are you crazy kidding me? I think for associations, I would answer that and say you should bring that back. I would collect all of your membership, all of your features and benefits, and your promotions. Things like research fall into that. In my mind, understanding your market is part of marketing. So too often marketing. So I'm sure most of you would want to hang up on me, because if you thought if I had to put even 9% of my budget to marketing, that would be insane. It probably would. Okay. But that's if you define marketing as just that promotion stuff, the design, the publishing your reports, the crafting new emails. When you take it all of the components of marketing, from your marketing tech stack, okay, to some of the programs and services, to your main conference, I would bundle all of that in there, and you will actually find you're probably spending more than that on marketing if you take that broader definition. The other things, when we start working our client approaches, is my first goal is to figure out how much should they spend, okay? And that's not spend with us, spend in general. And so whoever asked the question, the other comment I'll make is the dependency is also, what is the downside if you don't? Are you at risk? And what is the upside if you do? In OSFI's case, they had and saw a tremendous upside. They have a huge market potential to grow. So you will spend differently if you're more boxed in with your membership. Okay, so that it should also release some pressure from that rule of thumb. And so it always is. And Adam, I'm going to steal your phrase. I think I heard you say at one conference, is you're all your unique own little butterflies. But that is one of the key things you have to determine is, do you have market growth opportunity? Do you have revenue growth opportunity? How big is it? Or are you under serious threat of competition or some other serious threat that you need to invest to defend? And understanding those things will also form into the equation of how aggressively you need to spend and start allocating. Typically with our clients who are starting to invest in these things, who enjoy a long-term view, we like the measured approach, because you can make investments, get a win, and then you get confident, and then you say, well, that budget was good. What if we gave it a little bit more? And then you can start incrementally moving that year over year. I hope that perspective has helped.
Christine, I like how you mentioned the competitive marketplace, because I think oftentimes when we're thinking of associations, we're not thinking of, actually, it's like the business world. There's competition for members, and some missions overlap, and you can set yourself apart.
Yeah, for sure. Missions overlap. You're competing with Google. You're competing with a bunch of wild stuff like TikTok and YouTube, and you're competing with universities and other research institutes and other types of associations and niche subspecialty associations. You're competing for time and attention in a lot of ways. And when you're seeing erosion, or if you're stuck, I think it's about understanding why. In OSFI's case, they didn't necessarily have competition. And I'm going to say this isn't true for all of you, but in their case, the cost to get the eyeballs for engineers, the cost to get the eyeballs of an engineer is actually kind of low, or than it is for most white collar professions. The cost to get a physician's time and attention is eye-wateringly expensive. And I mean by buying ads. And that is just one yardstick to help our clients figure out how much they should be investing. So there are a lot of variables that go into play, but your competition threats and what is the opportunity and how aggressively do you want to pursue that opportunity? As with most things, it's part art, part science. And that's something we love helping our clients figure out their precise answer.
I love it, Christine. All right, we're going to come back to you in a minute. If you can put up your contact information, we're going to come back to you with the final big thought that everyone can run away with. While Christine's doing that, first of all, I want to thank Christine for giving today's talk. So great. And to thank all of you for attending and your participation. Next month, we're going to be back. It's March 22nd. March 22nd, also at noon Eastern. We're going to have what to do when polarizing issues threaten to send your members into an uproar. And they're going to be moderated by my friend Chuck Bowen, who's the VP of Communication and Member Relations at the Outdoor Power Equipment Institute. And he's going to be joined by Michelle Manabach, who runs Advocacy Communications. Many of you probably know Michelle at the American Speech Language Hearing Association. And we'll also have Sean Luchterfold, who's the VP of Communications at Encore. Again, March 22nd, we'll be starting to promote it soon on Collaborate and other platforms. What to do when polarizing issues threaten to send your members into an uproar. And with that, Christine, what's the big fun? If no one remembers anything else from this presentation? What do you want them to walk home with?
So I'm going to deliver Basil's message from the beginning. Strategy and vision and mission is good. Value proposition and what's going to get your attention of your members. So what is valuable to them and aligning to it is what gets your attention of your members. And that's why as a marketer, I'm here. And I know what Basil would want to say to you. It's changed their organization and their entire outlook.
Christine, thank you so much. Again, thank you all for participating.
Just a quick, for those who are asking for additional resources, you may want to start with I'm not trying to do a sales pitch, but this report, it's a study we did around value propositions. There are a lot of information about audits and some benchmarking study, and a little bit more about this case study is in there. If you want, otherwise you've got me on LinkedIn, please reach out. I'm happy to talk and share anything I can to help your thinking.
Okay, until next time, thank you, Christine. Again, thank you all for attending today. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.